I saw the your latest video, in fact, was about essentially some guy that came in too hot. And
Mhm.
it was a bit of a journey, this video. It was about a guy that probably was a little too creepy, a little
Mhm.
too excited,
Yep.
and she was also kind of a crotch about it.
Mhm.
What is the as somebody who's been pretty immersed in this everyone listen to my opinion because I'm a woman
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
When do you think that women have always like, I think it's a weird phenomenon that there's so many women being awful, uploading it to the internet and thinking it's a boss, kind of like this boss bitch moment. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
you sound like really unlikable.
Yeah, but here the thing about that is that this is so to answer your question, I believe that they have always been like that. I believe that this is just a modern manifestation of their evolutionary psychological programming. And the reason that it's not that I don't agree with you. I think most of them sound pretty terrible. I think most of them are, they sound harsh and unlikable and they're not doing great things for themselves. But the reason that it is actually a boss move is because they can do that and still get benefits from society. They're sort of showing off, I can be awful and I'm
Mm.
still valued because I'm a woman who's young enough. That's the position that they're in. So when we try to use that argument with them, and tell them, "Hey, oh, you look bad." They go, "So?" Rolling in
Yeah.
money and attention.
Damn, yeah, it's actually worse than I outlaid. Yeah, it is in fact worse. You're right, because there is
Yeah.
still an attention economy.
Yep.
One of the first videos I saw of yours was explaining, uh, essentially, I don't know if it was necessarily the pretty girl effect, but it was a shorter version of that,
Mhm.
where, essentially, part of the second part of that question was like, do you think that, you know, like, dating culture, the app culture, this,
Mhm.
social media culture, it sounds like you don't think it's actually made people that much worse. It's just made
Mm,
existing problems,
it's
inflamed.
I don't think that it's changed much about people. I think what it's done is provided the lowest possible, place for, I don't know how I would draw it. It's kind of like water seeks the lowest level. So, you've got water going here. It's not going to turn around. It'll go into the lowest level. So
Mhm.
social media is just digging deeper and deeper year after year in order to get the attention to go to it so they can make money. They're enabling people's lower drives more and more and more. Whereas civilization works by building things higher and higher and forcing people to be better and better in order to get their needs met. Social media forces them to do less and less in order to get their needs met. And so it's not that it's changing people, it's just enabling the worst in people, it rewards the worst in people.
That makes sense. That I haven't been a lot of times my viewers will, when I talk about, we'll talk a little bit about this later. When I share my opinions on like the modern dating scene, it is fair to say that I am a bit out of touch, given I've been, I've been with the same woman for like 20 years.
Mhm,
She was with me before I made my money, so I got to kind of respect that. Um,
mhm,
when I look at a lot of these kind of modern, like the dating app, I think really heavily commodified relationships,
yep,
and it became like, the way I describe it with people is like, okay, when I was young, when I was in the dating pool, you had like your block and
mhm,
the girls in your class.
yep,
And that was your pool, and that's where you fished to get laid, or to, whatever, or to date, or to whatever. You're not necessarily
yep,
thinking of getting married in high school.
mhm.
Now the kids have a pool that is several cities minimum wide,
Yeah, as far as you
and
could drive, really.
yeah, as far as you could drive, and it's always available.
Yep,
And I think that leads to a lot of this, like, incentive to not settle down, or
mhm.
incentive to always be sowing your wild oats kind of thing.
Yeah, it's the illusion of choice. The apps they give you the emotional experience of having infinity choices, and there's always something better. But in reality, those people are also looking at infinity people, and so it leads to the cycle, the app cycle, of um, meeting someone and thinking that they're perfect from the app, and then meeting them in real life and being disappointed and going back to the app and trying again just over and over until you're 40. Here's my little
Yeah,
illustration
there it
of that.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, the app cycle where, that's we've all had this experience. If you've ever used a dating app, you meet someone and it's like, "Oh, they're so amazing. This is the love of my life." And you meet them and it's like, "Oh, this is just a real person." You know who else looked great on the app?
You're
It's
already thinking about it, like, when you're on the date and
yeah.
it's always cooking in the back of your mind.
Mhm. Yep. There's always more and more options, and this is something that it slides by through people's subconscious. They don't recognize that they're thinking that way. They just don't that part of your brain that's evaluating people doesn't differentiate between people on the app and people qualitatively different types of relationships. That's something that you do through a computer with a stranger and someone who you meet in a large community of people who know you. That
Mhm.
there's a lot of safety and support and stability in webs of relationships that surround people who meet in that context. And that's all gone here. So either person can treat the other person pretty bad before experiencing a consequence.
That's a
And
great point. Actually, not sorry to interrupt, but that's a great
yeah.
point because, if you treated a girl poorly in the old way, like in the 2000s,
Yeah.
there was an actual penalty to pay for that. Other girls
Yeah,
would find
word
out.
word got around.
Yeah. Yeah, if you dumped your girl, that was a big incentive, like, when you're breaking up with a girl, it was like, "Hey, you better do it with respect, or you better not
Yeah.
be cheating on because then all the other girls will find out." Now there's really not that, and also socially, if I guess maybe it's not the same now, but, when I was in the dating pool, you knew who the whores were, and, like,
Yeah. They got
you
they
know
have a reputation, word got around.
right, word got around, and maybe you hooked up with them, but you knew going in that you were just gonna have a little physical time, and you had no intention of, and by the way, men too, right? Like,
Mhm.
I had a friend who, like, we all famously called him, like, man whore because he was always hooking up with, well, other whores. Because, like you said,
Yeah.
basically people who are hyper, um, promiscuous find each other. That's
Yep.
what these apps now have put on essentially steroids.
Yep. They go to the same places and do the same things, and, it's I was talking to Mac and Murphy a little while ago when we were discussing the actual change in promiscuous behavior and partner count, and the average, scientifically speaking, like, according to the data, to whatever extent we can trust that, I don't know. I haven't read it well enough to know, but I know the social sciences are sometimes a little soft. It doesn't seem to have changed that much. I think that the average partner count changed from 4 to 5 in the last few years, but
Oh,
I think that there is, because data is really complex. There's a lot of people. I think that there is very likely a growing cohort of people who become um, hypersexual.
and people who
That
are
that
becoming celibate now, it seems like more
yeah,
people are opting out of the dating market, right?
yeah, voluntarily or not. The older people are beginning to go, it's not worth my time, and the younger people are just going, there isn't anything I do. I get a lot of black pillars on my content,
Yeah.
and I
I always
so
fight
far
against that, man.
yeah.
I try to bring them back. Let me guess, you probably know, or maybe you probably know somebody who is a high earner. Actually, I
Mhm,
feel like based on what I've read, but anyway, for the viewers out there,
mhm,
like, I know several men who are six-figure earners and have in their
mhm.
mid-30s and are just opted out of the dating pool, and they're just not interested at all, and no matter what I say, I'm like, "Dude, what is going on? Like, you're like a premium catch guy." And they're just like, I don't want to catch the herp. All the women have kids.
Yeah.
I'm fine with my hobbies.
Yeah, they're not a premium catch anymore. Like, again, the market has changed. So
Yeah.
it's like even a guy like that no longer has what it takes to get the woman that he would value. I guess they call it hoflation. Like, women are showing up just worn out and angry with the dead eyes and, yeah, with kids in tow and everything. And they go, you have to accept me or there's something wrong with you. Am thinking about someone in particular, a guy who I really respected in a lot of ways, and his dating life was tough.
Yeah. And what do you think made it so tough? Is that he didn't like he was it things that he was doing, or is that the system had changed completely around him?
I think it was the system that changed completely around him because he was, decent height, decent looking, still in his early 30s. I think by the
Yeah.
time I left, he was in his mid 30s. I think that he was making over 300K. I know he was working for like a big company in a data
Almost
based
anywhere you live,
position.
that's good money, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
quite good money.
Mhm.
And, I kept in touch with him over the years and I listened to his dating life and it's like, well, I went out with this person and this is what happened. I was like, That's what you're getting for like 300K and being a decent guy? Like he's above average looking and everything."
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then he began a relationship and I was like happy for him. And when I met her, I could see how much tension was on him, how much he was
Oh.
being taken for a ride, and then it ended poorly for him, and I was like, Dude, you got run over, and you're in the top." I don't know. I guess that's not the top 1% anymore, but he
Close
was
enough.
killing it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. 300K a year, unless you even if you live in Manhattan, is decent, very good money.